Yeah, we had back-to-back home games, so that
Yeesh.
was
Yeah, it's a
Good way to
lot to
start
kick off
though.
the year.
good start. Good
Yeah.
start.
Say,
But
Matt, I don't
all
think you're not on the schedule this year, but Anthony or Andy, you guys coming to Buffalo at all? I know we're lined up.
Uh, I'm on the fence. I'm on the
Okay.
fence. We'll see. Not scheduled. I'm scheduled Vegas right now and Atlanta, but we'll
Two
see.
good options. I mean, Buffalo in mid-November is not could be hit or miss. Could be
It's
beautiful fall
authentic.
weather. It could
It's an
also be
authentic building, right? I mean, we got to go before you get your new digs.
I
Same with
know,
yeah.
one more
you got to get
year.
back out
So
there.
yeah, it's a sight to see. I tell everyone that if you're a big time college football fan, you need to experience Buffalo because it's a communal effect. It's the town shuts down, the city shuts down. I mean, it's
Well,
very much like KC, Anthony. I mean, we're very
yeah,
similar in terms of markets, so
100%.
it's a lot of fun.
We got to get the clients to start thinking that way, Kyle. That's the only problem. Is
I
that
know, right?
Buffalo, they're like,
Yeah,
where's
yeah,
the Miami or LA? Where's that at?
I know,
Yeah.
right? It's a tough draw sometimes, right?
We've got a number of Ambition employees that are Buffalo natives, so I hear a lot about the build. So I think
Yeah,
that those team members are super excited you're on this webinar with us.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Bills
there was
Mafia,
a ton
Steve.
of ALSD around the Bills, just the whole new project. It was very interesting to hear everything that's going on and just looks really cool. The whole project seems like an absolute hit.
Yeah, it's so unique, right? Because one, we're the smallest market team. Our stadium's not downtown. It's
Mhm.
literally in a town, right? I mean, so think about it. Like there's elementary schools down the street. I mean, people open up their yards, they open up their houses. Like if you park at someone's house, you're able to go in their house, you're in their yard, you're able to use their back. Like it just doesn't happen often, right? So it's such a unique environment, but we lean into it. We have to, right?
Yeah.
But excited for the new stadium, obviously, as well. So.
I mean, having not gone to a major college or had that experience ever, I think it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I
would
was the
be
same way. I went to a small school and it's I went to Syracuse later on, but you just see it. It's just so different. So we're excited, but yeah, I mean, Andy, you guys got your hands full too. That looks what you guys are building in Nashville looks just incredible. So
It's fun. It's fun to be a part of it, especially as you spend so much time behind the scenes of
right.
working on it. And so finally now to get it out in front of people and greeted with all the excitement that the people come into the preview center with. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
really fun time to be
Yeah.
going through, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's like having Vegas 2.0, but on the East Coast now, finally, it's what you
Right.
guys are. It's great.
Yeah, ours is very big towards obviously football being the main tenant, but concerts and events are just going to be such a big part of the building now with the roof
Yeah.
and just being Music City here down in Nashville. It's a big part of what we're selling now, which is great. Just full entertainment all year.
do they give you any insight into number of events, expectations there, like as you're able to communicate with clients?
Yeah, it's a big part of it, and we have some different inventory that includes it. But I mean, that's a big selling point for us is just
Yeah.
having a lot of the premium have that right of first refusal. And so we're expecting about anywhere from 45 to 50 events a year, with football being nine or 10 of those, hopefully a little bit more from a playoff standpoint, but just that small portion. So concerts are going to ramp up pretty drastically for us when we make that transition. And I believe we're the third busiest stadium in the country or in the world, actually. I think LA and um, down in Mexico City were the only two that don't have a roof that had more concerts and events outside of us. So we're starting in a really good place with the number that we have. And so having the roof and then being able to extend that concert season will just really help bolster that.
Yeah, suite holders have to be through the moon, just being able to have all that at their fingertips. I mean, it's just so many more opportunities to entertain, right? Get face to face with clients. It's awesome.
Yep, it's a big piece of it, that's for sure. Helps when your team starts 0-2 to focus on Post Malone coming to town as opposed to
Yeah.
how's the team's doing right now.
Third craziest or most popular stadium is pretty insane for Nashville. That's
Yeah, it's the
awesome.
third without the roof. So once you put that caveat in there, it was surprising. Which I actually keep forgetting that I believe SoFi technically is an outdoor stadium because they have that open air. It's not technically they
Yeah.
can close it off. So
What are they doing with the field? Will it be a turf field, like the grass infused turf, or like what's the plan there?
Yes, we're experimenting with some options right now, but it will be a turf field. We'll be able to roll it up and retract it, and so ultimately be able to host a lot of big time conferences and events and concerts, and not have to put something over the field. So that will be a big piece to that as well. But yeah, it'll be the artificial piece, so we can roll concerts in and out pretty quickly after a game.
Yeah, the technological advancements there, I mean, they're mind blowing. You see all these stadiums doing a variety of things around the field and maintaining it. It's just crazy.
Yes, it does. The football purists don't love it, but ultimately, from operational and then just how much more you can do with the turf, it's a big part of the business decision for sure that goes into it. But plus, technology is getting so good these days. I mean, that artificial stuff
Yeah.
is feels pretty awesome.
We're
It
going
might
natural grass in Buffalo, which is going to be interesting, just knowing our climate. So,
right.
but it's kind of like you said, it's kind of the way that the players want it, the PA's pushing it. So I know we
Right.
looked at everything, but for our climate, we'll have heated, technology underneath to help with that. But
Yes.
yeah, we'll be open air still. So
We have the same technology in Kansas City with the heated underneath. I think that was a requirement, like what, 5, 10 years ago, that you had to have that. So it's interesting to see when the steam comes off the field. I think Andy Titans were here once and it was 4 degrees and we could see the steam and we just got these incredible photos from it.
Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, it's that's what it's all about.
well, even your playoff game last year, Anthony, I mean, you think about how cold it was and the bodies hitting the ground. I mean, thank God they have the heated
I mean,
technology for that, right?
yeah, we
Yeah.
had helmets cracking. I've
That's
never
crazy.
experienced something like that in my life. And it was our crew, though, our staff, even our fans. I mean, I couldn't believe it, how full we were. And it's a testament to our fans and our fan base. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting experience.
That's
How
awesome.
many layers were you wearing?
Probably a solid 6. Could have moved to 9, but and I probably stayed a lot in our club. I did a lot of club level visits that day. Let's just put it that
Uh, great banter. Hey folks, we are live. I'm gonna get us kicked off here. I did suggest let's let some folks trickle in, let everybody get here, but we're just past my 5 minute goal, but I definitely enjoyed that conversation. You have made it. You have arrived. I've got 4 amazing sales leaders here with me today. I am your host, Jared Houghton, co-founder and CRO. And today we're going to be getting into Gridiron goals, taking your sales performance to the end zone. I'll do a quick intro of myself, and I'll pass to everybody that's going to be joining me today. But again, Jared Houghton, co-founder and CRO of Ambition.com. We actually started about 12 years ago as fantasy football for sales teams. So in the spirit of sales performance, I thought I'd tell that story. We thought it would be a lot more fun for friends of ours in sales, like many of folks have on this panel, to basically come into work every day and compete against their friends, compete in sales activities, to go treat a week like a game, and a quarter like a season. And that was the original founding of our business. And 10 years later, we're lucky to serve some of the biggest enterprises in the world: T-Mobile, Zoom, Waste Management, ADP. We are helping every day drive sales performance and coaching for those teams to maximize their revenue attainment. So I've got a great group to kind of host you guys today. I'm going to pass it over to you, Matt. Do a quick intro, and we'll kind of launch into the rest of the deck.
Cool. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate the time and you all having us. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you and this whole crew. But my name is Matt Laux. I've been here with the Commanders for now my 4th season, which is kind of crazy. We've seen quite a bit of change over the course of the 4 years between a couple of different names, a couple different owners, and then now moving forward in the positive direction that we are. Prior to being here with the Commanders, I spent 5 years with the Devils and Prudential Center up in North Jersey. So pretty cool now to be under the larger Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment umbrella now. But really cool time to be a part of the organization and happy to be here.
Great. My
Thank
name's
you.
Anthony. Yeah, my name is Anthony Mattis, Vice President of Premium Sales, Kansas City Chiefs. 14th season with the club. I've been here a little while. My second stint, actually spent my first 4 years here. through the renovation of Arrowhead, 2009, 2010. Went to San Francisco, helped with the Levi Stadium project, the Legends crew, and the Niners. Came back. It's my 9th season back, I want to say. It's been an incredible ride. A lot of coaching changes in the past, but we've a pretty solid group here now. Really evolved through that process, and excited to speak with all of you today, give you some great insights. We've got a great group. So look forward to it.
Hey crew, Jared, I'll say thank you again for including me on this group. Like I said, these guys got to know them a little bit, and obviously knowing Anthony and Laux over the years. Definitely a good group, excited for the combo. But Andy Bradshaw, so I'm Senior Director of Premium Sales and Hospitality here with the Titans, going on my 4th season, which equates to about 3.5 years here in Tennessee. Before this stint, I was up in Cleveland working for the Cavaliers organization up there for 8 years, and then made my way down here to Nashville. So within my time here, so I oversee the group that does all the premium sales and service. And then here over the last couple of years have made the transition to focus solely on our new stadium project. And so we are scheduled to open up a brand new building down here in Nashville on the East Bank, kicking off for the 27 NFL season. So have some perspective of starting the team here, but then also focusing on a big project and the sales process that goes into that. So excited to share with y'all.
And I'll
Thank you
round
for
out
being
the
here.
group. Kyle Georgia with the Buffalo Bills. Excited to be here as well with this great panel. Entering my 9th season up here in Buffalo. Prior to that, I was down in New York City doing some media and sports valuation work with an agency down there. But my 9 years here, I've seen a lot in Buffalo. See the brand grow from being the smallest market team to really an international brand now. So excited, not only for this season, but as Andy mentioned, he's building a new stadium up here in Buffalo. We're doing the same. So we'll kick off the 2026 season in our new Highmark Stadium. So getting the chance to work on that work, which has been really exciting. So excited for the discussion, and thanks again to Jared and team for hosting this.
Of course, thank you guys for being here. I'm going to go to the audience on the next 2 slides. So we've got 2 live polls. First, we want to kind of understand, who's on the call today? What position do you guys play on the go-to-market org? That should be popping up. So sales development, sales manager, account executive, sales leadership, revenue or sales operations, or sales enablement. And the second topic we want to quickly get your take on is, how are you guys performing right now? And specifically Q3 of 2024. We've got 11, I think, days left in the month, left in the quarter. Is it A, we will likely miss our target, sales are down? B, we were almost to goal, we need a couple deals to close? Or C, we're pacing great and are already 100% or more to the target? So I'm going to start looking at this as it comes in. I think you guys should also be able to see it. Seems like sales leadership so far is outpacing everything else for the attendees. Number 2, we've got a tie between A and B. A being we'll likely miss, and B being we're close, a couple more deals to go. There is some votes for we've already hit 100%, so good for you guys. That's amazing, and I hope ultimately we have content for everybody. I'm gonna wait just a minute longer and see if this changes at all. It looks like we have 15 more seconds before it closes out. So a good mix of all of the titles we talked about. Again, the top one being sales leadership, and still a tie between A and B. We're likely to miss, or we're still pushing away at that number and think we can go get it. So I'm going to get us into our topics today. Want to take a quick quote unquote look at the field. One thing that I talk a lot about here at Ambition is, we are sales performance. There is a category of software out there called sales performance management. We're going to be talking more about that on the field play. I want to quickly kind of identify, the difference of the two. Sales performance management, I think, is largely the 3 things you see on the screen. I say those kind of live at each end zone of the sales, organization. One is your territory planning. That is, what accounts do I work, what industries, maybe what company sizes, what deal sizes, et cetera. That kind of happens at the front end of the year to help you kind of be focused and where you should go spend your time as a seller in that territory. The other side of the field, I really think these things are after the fact. You've closed that deal, you've gotten the touchdown, you've made the revenue event happen. Sales performance management helps you get paid, so that's important for sales. And I think towards the end zone there, towards the red zone, it does also help with your forecast. But there's a lot of field, left out there, and that's where I want, kind of pick these guys' brains today. With sales performance, I like to say this is like taking the kickoff from one end and working the ball all the way down to getting you to the end zone. So it's not just deal coaching at the end, but it's everything that gets your team in a position to go win, day in and week out. Things like, the culture of the team. How do we recognize them? How do we give feedback? Things like the KPIs. Are we measuring, those leading, maybe outbound indicators that we know are going to be important throughout the year to get us where we want to go? Things like the one-on-one. How are we, doing team meetings, or how are we doing coaching and development? And as we move these things down the field, I think we also help with stuff like deal insights. What's going on with the deal, good or bad? Like, do we actually know? Maybe helping prop up a successful pipeline review. Are we able to inspect all the deals of the team and kind of get into it, make sure we have the right, information to best forecast? And ultimately, moving the ball down the field, deal coaching. Do we know we're at risk? Can we go, consistently coach our team in the right direction to get that deal to the red zone and ultimately in the end zone to be closed one? So we're going to be spending our time more on the sales performance on the field. And I like to say this is, for today, this is the strength and conditioning plan that ultimately is going to make you consistently, get in that scoring position. So one more thing I forgot to add, feel free to use the comments. Everybody should be able to message openly or individually to myself or Mari, who's helping host this thing, or any one of our panelists. So feel free to fire off questions and we can kind of take those as we get into it. But I've got 4 topics carved out for us that I'm calling the 4 sales workout routines that will always increase your odds of winning, which is important. We all want to win. I think your team wants to win. Everyone wants a winning sales culture. So these guys are here to tell us everything about what they're doing to consistently, win as a sales org and put teams on the board. Exercise number 1, I want to talk a little bit, and Kyle, I'm gonna go to you first, but tell me more about the team meetings and the structure of how you maybe consistently set up the team for success, and maybe how you're doing your one-on-ones and coaching of individuals in your organization.
Yeah, I think listen, we're all in different types of sales roles in our different industries and verticals, right? But I think connectivity is everything in the business world today. One-on-ones are extremely important here in Buffalo. We move at an extremely fast pace, right? I mean, you think about just the NFL as an overall theme. We've added games on Thursday, we've added games on Saturday, on Monday night, right? So no week is the same as the last. So you really need to be aligned internally before you can go and have those pitch meetings or communicate with people externally. So we believe in weekly one-on-ones in season. Now, if there's we also have the open door policy. So if there's times that we connect in person and we've covered that, we're happy to cancel that. But we truly believe that connectivity is everything. And I think information is exchanged so quickly, right? We all have cell phones, we have Teams chats or Slacks, and you just don't want to miss something, especially when you want to make sure it's buttoned up fully internally before you can bake it and then send it out externally. So I think for us, internal alignment's huge, and we really truly believe in the one-on-ones and using that time wisely to make sure we've checked the boxes for that week. We don't really look macro, we're looking more micro of, okay, this week we play on Monday Night Football. What has to happen from now to get us to Monday to make sure we're in the best spot for success? So we're true believers in one-on-ones. I think there's a lot of opportunity there from not only knowledge sharing, but also growth, right? It's a good chance to, reflect, acknowledge, key success, lean into those key wins, celebrate those key wins, but at the same time, make sure that you're buttoned up and ready for, the week or the game ahead.
Yeah, Kyle, in Kansas City, we kind of speak the same language. I won't be too redundant on that piece, but open door policy is really big here. We're, as in the NFL, I mean, you would think we have thousands and thousands of employees as some of these verticals that are on maybe watching, but we are a close group. We know how to get a hold of each other. We all kind of sing from the same sheet of music, but it's really, we do, our cadence here is bi-weekly. If we need to get in the room one-on-one weekly, we do that. We understand when we need to do that. That's important. The biggest thing for my sales teams, why I like us to get together in front of each other, because we can get lost in our technology sometimes. And it's good to have that face-to-face interaction so that when they go out in the marketplace and they're meeting with CEOs, they're trying to close deals, or meeting at the stadium with leadership, they're comfortable. And that's part of the skills process that I organically foster here at Arrowhead.
Yeah, and Anthony, I'd chime in there just quickly, right? I mean, perfect example is there's two different departments between all of us within the NFL here, right? You have premium side and you have sponsorship side. For us, we got to make sure we're buttoned up and talking the right messaging so that it doesn't conflict, maybe a prospect that you have in the pipeline. So that's where, that internal dialogue is so key, that open door policy to make sure, hey, did I talk to Anthony and his team before I go out and pitch this sponsorship? Because maybe they already have inroads with said prospect, right? So fully agree. And yeah, we are very aligned. And I think that's one myth that probably needs to be debunked, right? Is yeah, we all compete on the field, but we idea share. We rarely compete against each other. We have home markets that we have to abide by. So if I see a good idea done in Washington or in Tennessee or KC, I'm getting on the phone and I'm calling one of these individuals, say, hey, how'd you guys get this to the goal line, right? How'd you get it across the goal line and ultimately, close that deal? So it is a very tight-knit community. And I think, to your point, Anthony, a lot of people think we have thousands of employees. We don't, right? There's 10 to 15 in our groups that, we all manage each other and make sure we're all on the same page. So connectivity is huge.
Yeah, great point, fellas. I think a key there is just that connectivity. I mean, we're with each other all the time. With you, Kyle, you mentioned the amount of games, events, and just outside of events that we are all there with each other, and then just in the weeds. I mean, we're on appointments with each other, doing a lot with our actual team members, and so always staying connected that way. From a cadence standpoint, we felt here in Tennessee, for us, it makes sense to meet bi-weekly, so very similar to what Anthony and crew are doing over there in Kansas City. The one I'd say caveat to that is that we do meet on as a team at a team level in between those bi-weekly meetings as well. And so we're in theory touching base in a formal setting every week outside of just popping in and out, and really use the one-on-one time for us to get a little bit more granular with pipelines. And I think that's on the docket to talk about today, but just to really get into that deal flow, see where folks are in different levels of those stages, and talk specifically. And then as the larger group, we do still hit on that, because I do think it's important for the team to hear how meetings are going, how what clients are saying, kind of who's doing what, and it also drives urgency that way as well. But also I think one of the things from a one-on-one perspective is just gives you a really good time to get on that level with the rep, to understand what they have going on sometimes outside of the office, so you can get an understanding of where their head's at, and really create that connectivity within that person in your relationship there, just understanding how they're doing, things they're struggling with. And sometimes that's in the lines at work, but a lot of times that turns into 30-40 minute conversations of things that have nothing to do with work. And so it just gives them that platform to talk what's on their mind, and whether that's X's and O's or outside as well.
Yeah, and that personal element's so key in being able to pull certain levers with your employees and your teammates, understanding what motivates them, what their why is, and being able to have those conversations throughout one-on-ones. It's only going to help you be able to do your job better, right? And I think that's ultimately what we're all hoping to do. So similarly, as kind of everyone's mentioned, our cadence is bi-weekly as well. And then we have our weekly pipeline meetings where we're ideating around different deals and just generally having conversations around our top priorities for the week. And then beyond that, if there are any miscellaneous topics that come up, like a concert announcement or some key topics amongst the group, but not to beat a dead horse, I think everyone's pretty aligned in our typical cadence, and it's helped all of us become successful in our own right.
Yeah, just a couple of themes there, and I, hard to agree with all of these things, but the personal connection, I think the consistent cadence sounds like for you guys, maybe bi-weekly is the right amount of time. We do weekly. I think there's others with bi-weekly, but the personal connection, the cadence of meeting, making sure you have the connectivity and the communication. One thing you mentioned, Anthony, was face to face. Are all of you guys, in office and face to face, or do you also have, remote team members? Just curious.
Yeah, so our cadence here is we've left some flexibility since COVID as far as one day. So that way they can, if they've created some consistency during COVID when we were all out of the office, to give them one day a week to work remote. But really, I mean, we've sat down from top leadership down, and most of our employees want to be back in front of each other in this environment, right? It might be different in other environments, but you need that flexibility. And that helps recruiting for other business lines. But for here and what we do day to day from an entertainment perspective, from a building perspective, being on site's actually helpful. And also, they just wanted to be around each other again. The culture is so much more boosted, getting to know each other. I mean, we are with each other a lot. This is your second family. Sometimes you're with your work family more than you are your personal family, depending on event time of year. Because a lot of people travel from what we do as well. Whether if you're not at home working a game, you're on the road. So that's was the overarch. That's kind of our cadence here as far as workspace goes. But having that little flexibility really went a long way.
Yeah, I'll
For
add
sure.
to that.
Yeah.
I think we're in the office as well. I think one of the things that all of us have the luxury of is just having some team members that are trusted, that have been in the business for a while, and so ultimately let them really run their day and own their day. And I think that goes a long way to where you might have some team members that have to jump early at 3 or 4 o'clock because they got to pick up their kids or be at a dance recital, and that's something that we all understand, and no one gets pushed back on. And so we keep it very open in that regard to where we're coming and going, because for us that's how you're out driving revenue and driving businesses out in front of the clients. And so very fluid in that. It's just keeping each other up to date on where we are, but also giving them the ability to kind of to run with their schedule is big as well. But from a HR and in the office, we are 5 days a week in the office, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it is unique for a lot of the folks that, we serve and that probably are on this call, and just some of the things we are talking about, connectivity and relationship building. It is, in my opinion, that much easier to do when you are with someone a lot. So I was just curious how you guys, if you had totally remote people and if that changed it at all. But I think the trust and relationship building goes a long way. When you're in the pit, you're there with your team every single day. All right, I'm going to get us moving on. That was awesome. Exercise number 2, calling this one measuring the X's and the O's. Matt, I'm going to come to you, but we looked at the early kind of field, measuring the right activities. Give us an overview, for you and your team of the KPIs and just kind of the operations of the group when it comes to measuring the X's and the O's.
Sure. I mean, to no one's surprise, activity is ultimately paramount amongst what we do, right? It's ultimately a numbers game, and strength is in the numbers. So for us, that trickles down to your activity day to day, whether it's phone calls, emails, meetings booked, meetings completed, annual pitches out has been a really big one for us of late specifically. But more broadly, a big challenge we face is just finding, companies engaging in suite ownership and that want suite ownership here locally. And a big piece of that is being proactive in your prospecting approach across the marketplace. So for us, that's spending a good bit of time in Zoom Info and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We just actually added a new piece to the equation in Bloomberg Government. So for us, a lot of our suite holders are government contractors, and this tool has actually allowed us access into what government deals have recently closed. And it has allowed us to understand, the dollar figures associated with these deals, as well as who specifically involved themselves in the contracts, who's doing a lot of the subcontract work, et cetera. So for us, it's really understanding our marketplace, which is very government contractor heavy, and then being able to use the appropriate tools to go out and ultimately build our pipeline. Because at the end of the day, it trickles down to those annual pitches out. And if we get enough of them out there, we're going to close a lot of deals. And that's been a big strength of ours of late.
Yeah, in KC, I think the strategy around our analytics group has really pushed our KPIs and pushed our measurables. I mean, we have a whole team here just focused on incoming leads, working with our league office on lead gen, putting that all into their I don't really work that. I don't deep dive too much into that. But the deliverables they give our sales teams are incredible. They're warm leads. They're very strategic on how to market, whether game time, type of fan. I mean, really knowing your fan, and then delivering the right messaging to deliver the right response from the prospect, and then getting it into our hands and our sales team hands to then go out and sell the right product to, and not just hit them, mask them with everything and confuse the customer. I think that's really helped us in measurables. Our four core focuses: renewing business, new business, how we're treating game day with all of our customers here, because we only have so many events. I know Andy in Tennessee has a lot of events. I mean, our stadiums in general, we've had more concerts than I've ever seen in the last 5 years. But for when we have our events, really being able to engage correctly in the right way, but being authentic, being original. And that's really helped us with our X's and O's as far as the measurables.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I mean, he mentioned it. I mean, analytics is a big part of all the decisions that we run and do, and so we're very in lock with our analytics team, whether getting information from the league or creating it on our own. But that's a big piece. I mean, we have a lot of revenue streams, and so obviously, when you're our department specifically, a focus on premium. I mean, we have current stadium annual leases, we have single game rentals, we have concert rentals, which is a whole nother side of our business of having anywhere from 10 to 20 additional events on top of football each year. And so there's a lot of different leads, there's a lot of different deal flow that comes through our pipeline. And so it's just making sure that we're staying on top of that. And that's multi-levels to where having the right dashboards and the KPIs that we're measuring to be able to communicate up to leadership is big. As far as our senior team loves to keep up to date and stay track on just where we are in goals, but also who's kind of coming through the pipelines. And then on the rep level, just staying in lockstep with them as well. Because from a management standpoint, if we find, hey, we've got a good amount of deals right now that are in proposal presented, and for whatever reason they've been in this stage for a long time, like that's where we will get together as a group and say, all right, it's time to do an event, or it's time to start looking at different incentives or different things that we can start to offer our team to try to help get folks out of that pipeline or get re-engaged in that process. And so just understanding that piece of where people sit throughout is a big part of how we make decisions to hopefully drive that business forward.
Yeah, and I would add on, here in Buffalo and on specific on like the sponsorship side of the business, it's trying to find that delicate balance between patience and urgency, right? You always want to have that pipeline filled with, prospects and leads, but, at the same time, there may be a prospect that, is a heavy prospect that, is urgent to get a deal done, but you don't have an opening in the category, right? So if you have a beer partner that says, hey, we want to get in with you guys, we want to partner with you guys, but, we're exclusive or don't have an opening in that category, it may take 2 to 3 years. So it's on you to continue to, engage with that prospect, build that rapport, build that relationship. So if and when that opportunity does come available, you already have that connectivity. So, similar concepts we use here, but, from our sales process and we look at X and O's, yes, we use league data, but sometimes there's certain categories that are already closed that we have to project out 3 to 5 years down the road. So, I agree with kind of the fine points everyone's made on this call, but really using that analytics to help find and tell your story is huge.
Yeah, just a couple of recaps or notes I was even taking, but like the relationship obviously is huge with the customer. Sounds like also internally, departmentally, how are we working with our peers in ops or analytics or marketing for that hot lead? Anthony, it sounds like you guys do a really good job of that. Matt, you mentioned, tech stack and the ability to give the team the right tools to go outbound, and sounds like, proposals is a key, call it mid-funnel metric that pretty much everybody here uses to drive the business. The more proposals out there you guys can get, the higher, likelihood of taking down that big revenue target. So
hey, Jared,
that was
can I
great.
hit on a question real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
There's just a question I think that'll be helpful just from, knowledge of how the NFL is kind of structured, right? So I think a question came in about Twisted Tea. We just announced a Twisted Tea partnership. So going back to analytics that we all use, the league will send us monthly reports on categories and kind of where we need to fall. So, we never get measured versus you get measured versus like teams, right? So the Bills are never getting pinned against LA Market or Dallas. Actually Anthony and I and Andy are all like teams. So we're all compared and measured the same way, market size, et cetera. So within that, the league will report and say, hey, Buffalo, your beer deal, one, you have an opening, you're a little less than your peer targets there. Can you try to get that up next year, right? So, we use that data all off season to say, hey, we actually have an opening in our beer space, malt beverage specifically in the hard tea category, based on the beer contracts we had. So we knew we had, this hard tea space open. So we went and prospect Boston Beer for a while, and brought them in right before the season. So just, again, a little inside info to that. How do we use that data and analytics? We really rely on our league and our league partners to help tell that story, to say, hey, where can we grow? Where do we have, growth opportunities, et cetera? And that allows for, these types of deals to, be prospected, but also closed in a timely fashion. So hopefully that, Brian, I think you asked that, hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Looks like he said things. Appreciate the insight. Keep the questions coming. That was great. I missed that one to start, but exercise number 3, feedback, motivation, recognition. Andy, I think you were going to take this one for us, but I think it's kind of just the culture of our team. How do we set the pace? How do we have the right DNA? What would you tell us about, what you're doing and what works well?
Yes, very popular buzzword around every organization, right? Is the culture and what you guys are doing for that. And so I think obviously it's extremely important. Helps just drive a lot of the decisions we make. I mean, that's the first and foremost, is how it's going to affect people, how it's going to affect our culture. And can't tell you how many times we've either passed on a candidate or had to move on from a candidate, regardless of how well they sold. It ultimately was because it didn't really feel like it would fit our culture here coming in, which is tough to always pinpoint. But we do spend a ton of time as a team sitting down and finding different ways and adding resources to how we're going to enhance our culture. And I think a couple of the key points is it's not a one size fits all. And so I think that's sometimes some of the hard thing to get bogged down in, is that we do work on these larger teams, and then we have our teams within that. And so I think it's good to be able to participate because we're with each other all the time with the larger group, but then also to be able to get even more specific with your team. And so, for example, for us, I mean, we do a ton of stuff in that bucket. We put a lot of time and resources into it. Whether it's team outings quarterly. So like our group now, we have a lot of new faces here. We brought a lot of folks on to help with the new stadium project. And so felt that it was important to make sure just quarterly we're giving the guys and the gals a break. So once where it's like a day that they can plan and get ahead of, but that we're going to get out and do something as a group. My team specifically, we get together monthly to just get out of the office, to be able to do something together. And then all the random stuff that comes through the year. So whether it's birthdays, which adds up quite a bit when you're on longer teams, to be able to do something as simple as doing lunches or donuts or something. Every time our team wins, like we get the tapping into some of the sponsor pieces on there, as far as just bringing in different ways to reward the team on that. And then obviously goals are big. And so we try to do the work hard, play hard mentality, where setting big goals for ourselves, but then also making sure that we're rewarding the team members to do it. We just surprised our group with some custom made guitars with their name and a milestone that we just hit for the new stadium. That was really just specific to my team. And so that went over really well. And tonight we're got a group going out to dinner to celebrate another milestone tonight. So I promise we do some work around here, but we also like to celebrate when things are going well.
Yeah. Sounds like you're doing it right. That guitar thing's awesome.
Love it, Andy. Well, I would say a lot of this exercise kind of trickles back to exercise 1, right? When we're going through our one-on-ones and our weekly conversations. So if you're understanding your reps at a personal level, you're going to be able to properly cater the delivery of your feedback. You'll be able to properly motivate your team and then also recognize them the way that they want to be recognized, right? everyone's super different in how they receive the information, how they are motivated, etc. So it's super important that we acknowledge that. We get to know them throughout the weeks and months leading up to some of these marquee moments, and then we're able to deliver effectively. So for us, we've been doing some monthly awards around top sellers, which isn't a super big surprise, but we've done a variety of different unique giveaways based off of, you know, what the month of the year is and maybe the top deal that was tied to that person's award-winning month. So done a few things there. And then in addition to that, annual suites is a huge piece of our business, right? So we're striving to hit 50 suites on the year. So what we've done throughout that process has actually given prizes based off the annual suite deal, and it's at random. So it's been really cool to kind of see different people get golf clubs or a PS5 or a variety of different items that have really resonated with them, and just adds to, you know, the love and attention that they're getting for a relatively big deal. So.
Yeah, in Kansas City, I think the hot item now, I know Andy, this is guitars or whatever the tchotchke, the hot item in KC was the backpack, right? Like each department has their own kind of cool swaggy backpack with their own kind of touch. And so that was one thing, unique thing we did for our premium team this year, was create a backpack or something unique to kind of stand out. So and whether it's finance or marketing. So everybody kind of has that. So that's kind of a feel good we do for our team for recognition of where you're at, that you made it to this level, whatever department that is. Andy's, you know, not to be redundant with Andy and Matt, I mean, we're pretty in line, lockstep on how we operate and celebrate with our teams, whether it's quarterly or monthly, or getting them out of the office, or hey, we need to be in the office actually grinding out some deals here and figuring this out. So again, relationship, like we preach that all the time, with that's the core of our business. Well, I think it needs to be the core of your sales team as well, and having that trust with each other and listening to them. And that goes into the motivation of wanting them to work for you, run through a brick wall, whatever it is. So that's important to us. And stretch goals, you know, celebrating those goals, but really let's get do we keep moving, my team calls it, you're moving the goalpost again, right? So which is great because everybody wins in that regard. So that's kind of how we look at it in Kansas City.
Yeah, and we're the same as, you know, what was said previously. You know, one thing I would add too, you know, remember, we're all sellers, right? So for us to execute and bring something to life, you're relying on a lot of internal teammates. So we've been really striving to do our team. We've challenged our team to say, okay, when you bring in a key win, how are you recognizing those internally that really help bring that to life? So similar, I think, you know, what Matt and Andy said, leaning into sponsors and providing the whole office lunch, right? Breakfast, things like that. But making sure that like we understand that their hard work doesn't go unnoticed. You know, we may be out, you know, having dinner with clients or closing deals, but we know there's a lot of internal people behind the scenes that really, you know, bring these things to life. So making sure that we're, you know, recognizing them and all their hard work and effort.
Sounds like you guys have fantastic cultures. So would love to you know, see what happens at Ambition and maybe call one of you guys. I was thinking while y'all were talking, you know, the backpacks are great. I love the guitar thing, but you know, one thing, we've done a bunch of contests and spiffs here at Ambition. This one popped in my head probably because of football, but we have we had, and we haven't done it yet this year, but a contest where the winner who does the most revenue, so Anthony, is when you're moving that goalpost, maybe it's like a stretch target for somebody. But one of the most successful contests we've had at Ambition is whoever wins it, they get a billboard for a month with whatever they want on it in their hometown. And we had a Nashville rep, you know, win. Andy, I don't know if you saw this, but degenerate Vols fan, who the Vols have not been great for a long time, and we could have a good year this year, knock on wood. And he put his face on Peyton Manning's body and had like some slogan about himself right there off the interstate. So I think it's important. Obviously, feedback, motivation, recognition is huge for me. How do we, you know, recognize our teams and make them a part? You know, make it as exciting as possible. So thought I'd share that. That was a really fun one. You guys should try it with your team.
Fun one right there.
Jumping to
The
I'll send you a picture.
I like it. Commission bonuses. I mean, salespeople are hard. I mean, that's generally number one on our list. Like the amount of surveys and just talking with the team. But outside of that, it's funny, like when you add things like time off and just different cool perks, recognition has been consistently like number 1 or 2 for a long time here. And so just trying to find ways to genuinely be able to tap into that, whether it's senior leadership, ownership, you name it, to be able to find unique ways to recognize people, but not make it feel like, okay, this is the check in the box of the typical email or something like that. And so setting up different ways for that is big, but generally it's money recognition tend to be the top 2 here in Nashville.
Yeah. All right, bringing us to our 4th topic. Yeah, I think you guys have hit on a lot of this already. So maybe this is just more of a general advice topic, but exercise for consistently hitting the number. Anthony, I think you're going to kick us off on this one, but what would you share additionally of what we've already talked about? Always you pushing the team and getting downfield and consistently taking on those targets and achieving those goals.
Well, I think from a leadership perspective, the number one thing is be clear on your comp. I know you have a lot of leadership. It sounds like from here, a lot of leadership groups in here that you need to be clear on your comp with your team. Talk, once you've decided from the top down, roll it out, be very clear with it, concise, and deliver for your sales folks. That will number one help you consistently hit your numbers because they know what they're stretching towards. They know it's going to happen. Again, there's going to be some variables here and there. We've all dealt with it, whether a rep sold something or talked to somebody. I mean, there's some minutia there where we will be a little flexible, but for the most part, be clear on your comp piece. Early and often. I know that's a slogan often used all over, but early with your customers, be there often. And on prospects too. I mean, that's something we always want to do, and listen to your customers. That's interesting to us, is listening to them, because sometimes we create new products that can help us grow a new revenue stream because we've listened to them. Might not be exactly what they want, but it does help us develop. I mean, our scenario, which Tennessee, Buffalo, Washington's in right now, in older buildings. I know you're building new, but when you're with an older building and you have to get creative, you listen to your customers, you find that product offering, you deliver, they're willing to pay for it, right? Because you've invested it in them and listening to them and your group. And I'll kind of summarize it with when you have your one-on-ones or your meetings, kind of going back to that piece, is make sure you have an open time for your reps or your sales managers to come up with some new ideas. That helps them buy into the sales process. That helps them feel really, really a part of it. And also, again, creating new stuff for you to sell, which is always exciting.
I love all 4 of those. And I think I'll just double click on clear on comp. No one wants a changing comp plan. So I think it's a critical one, but I wrote down all of those for personal notes. But yes, y'all feel free to jump in. I just wanted to echo those are great.
Yeah, I'll jump in quick. I think Anthony, he hit on a key word, listening, right? I think that's one of the most important things that people move past so quickly is, we're in a solutions-based oriented role, right? At the end of the day, we are selling a product or products that people want and they need, but how are they utilizing them, right? And, it's easy to go into a pitch or a meeting and say, hey, for Anthony, 2-time Super Bowl champs, right? Hot brand, people know them. They have some music star that helps too. I think that people are interested as well, right? But we have big time brands and big time fan bases, but I think a lot of times we overshoot and go in there and just want to show how great we are as a team or a brand, what we can do, and you miss the listening portion. What does that client or prospect need, right? What are they looking to accomplish, and what deliverables and solutions can you bring to the table that fits that, right? There's no playbooks with what we do. Everything's custom and it's curtailed to what they need and what they want. So, I would never minimize the listening component to any meeting, to any opportunity you're connecting with a potential partner, because that's huge. You take that back internally and you figure out what solutions, best fit that mold.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Kyle. I think just being able to add value is huge. And we preach so much to our teams on value. And put a ton of emphasis on training, and that goes throughout the entire year. A lot of resources go into it, a lot of time goes into it, to where I feel very confident to be able to drop anyone from my crew in just about any room or setting or pitch, and they're going to make it their own, but you're going to have a similar kind of unified message that's going out there that's going to put us in the best place to win. And a lot of that is listening to the client to be able to hear what their objectives are, and then trying to deliver, and showing them how they can use our platform to deliver on those. And in addition to that, I think it's helping out the team. I mean, ultimately, we do a lot on a peak on peak mindset. And so we set up a lot of our contests and events and just different high selling points to kind of piggyback with times throughout the year that our team or the NFL is just really relevant, which is no secret sauce there as far as just being able to host and do things in different cycles that we are top of mind for a lot of people. And then when we're not, it's just how we're creating that buzz when maybe we're not top of mind. And so there's definitely some strategy and elements that goes into that, but I think one thing that can be missed in a lot of this is just being able to give your team resources as well. And so one of the things we do is we incentivize the clients a lot when we are needing to close a lot of deals, and then we're also incentivizing the reps. So that really hits on like that peak on peak mindset where you're coming at it from both angles, knowing that you're getting everything you can out of it. And so like when I say incentivizing the clients, that's really maybe it's utilizing concerts or distressed inventory, or creating different price freezes or extra spots on a team trip to help really get some deals done utilizing that. And then on the back end, you're also rewarding the rep. So it's any type of bonuses or higher commissions, or utilizing different incentives that we have to really help them push towards some of those goals that you're trying to get out there. So you've got them pushing really hard in a certain time frame, and then it's also very easy for the client to say yes because of the urgency and maybe some of the added value you're adding on the back end. So a lot of long-winded way of kind of summing up 2 or 3 different points on how we drive some of the results there.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think a lot of what Andy, Kyle, and Anthony are all saying are pieces of, the equation that all lead to bigger deals, right? So for us, we spend a lot of time on reverse engineering some of the larger deals that have come through and better understanding the why behind it, right? Like maybe it is the experiential things that you're able to include in a deal to get it done. Maybe it's listening to a certain key moment that's going to be happening in the company's near future, whatever that element might be. It's just truly being kind of the student of the game towards your client, understanding what exactly is most important to them, and then being able to find parts of your process that have allowed you success, and then replicating those on a larger scale as you're going out and you're being active in your marketplace. And if you're able to effectively replicate that successful process over and over again, you're gonna hit your numbers year in and year out.
Yeah, I mean, so many great points. I think a lot of similar themes. I love like reverse engineering the deal, listening to the customer, being creative on products that you can serve your customer. I love that most of what you guys talked about are about ultimately the customer, because that's how we win, right? We all deliver for our customers, and I love that you guys pretty much all weave that in. So we are getting close to the end of time. We got about 7 minutes. Wasn't sure if we'd have time for this, but we are going to do the rapid fire, guys. Okay. So one sales skill that has gotten you where you are today, and why you got the mic. Do you have any 2025 sales predictions?
Sales skill, I'll say relationships and people building right there, as far as just being able to connect with the client, I think is big. Just hard work, a lot of different things that goes into success, but I think at the end of the day, just being able to connect and be likable, as create those relationships, is honestly a big part of what we do. And that goes for making sales, but then also from leading a team and working in the inner works of an organization as well, because we deal with a lot of different types of people in our business for sure.
Mine's more of a mindset versus a skill, but just loving the process, right? Like I was a college wrestler, and day in and day out at practice, you weren't exactly always winning, right? You were going to have good days, you were going to have bad days, like in sales here today. And just loving the desire and having the desire to be 1% better each day, and taking learning lessons from each of your meetings, calls, emails, and then applying it to the future. And then inevitably the results will come, right? And just loving every step of the way.
Yeah, I would add preparation, authenticity, right? I mean, any pitch, any prospect, put in the time and the effort, do the research, rely on the tools that your organization has, maybe, for us, the league has or our teams have, but really put in that time, right? Like, we're all asking for different dollars, right? And it's not an easy, sales process sometimes. So I would say preparation is huge for any type of, deal that we're trying to put in front of a partner.
I think the skill that got me this seater is the seat's always hot in the NFL, right? I mean, especially in our groups. You got to sell, you got to have numbers. I think it's not being afraid to ask for the number and being able to walk away from a deal that just doesn't make sense. I think that's really the sales skill that's helped me grow personally. What I preach to my sales team as well is don't be afraid to walk away, be confident in your numbers, know that we've studied this, know there's value, a little flexibility like Andy talked about. There could be some benefits we add in that makes sense for both the organization and the client, but just being really firm and we've spent a lot of time on this pricing, a lot of time on this product, and it makes sense.
Yeah, those are all great. CG, I'm just seeing your question, but I think it came in right as we were kind of opening up the slides. I think these guys just gave some really great feedback on that, but feel free to follow on to that question if you'd like. I didn't hear any 2025 predictions. Did anybody have any thoughts for the future of sales? I'll lead. Maybe in like an anti-prediction. I think AI is awesome. I think it's around us in a lot of things. I'm going to just double click into what you guys said. It's not going to build relationships for you. So like make sure relationships remain top of mind. That is something that will never go away in sales. But look for ways to, use the technology developing around us to make you even better at your job. But relationships, I think, are the most important thing in the business of sales.
I think you hit on it. Yeah, I think AI is here. It's great. I think there's definitely some benefits to it, especially in our world of identifying leads and being able to sort through leads or even qualify them from that matter. But when you get into the more technical sales and some of the longer sales process, and to Anthony's point, like some of these bigger numbers that is more than just a box for a certain amount of games. Like you really have to dig in and create those relationships and be able to add value there. And so I think always have some value with people like us at some point, hopefully, from our standpoint. But I think predictions along the lines, I think, especially when you talk to a lot of these folks here that have sold out venues that are continuing to hit their marks year over year, it's just finding different ways to get creative and add value and revenue for your organization. And I think a lot of that comes to what we're finding here in Nashville is people are willing to pay high dollars for additional experiences and access that you can continue to kind of create for different clients or different groups of clients. And whether that be on event days or even non-event days. And I think there's a lot of opportunities there, especially when you look outside your venues or in your markets. And we take it for granted sometimes because we work in sports all the time, so we're around it, but you realize that it helps drive business for people, but just being associated and having some access. And I think there's a lot of value there once you can continue to package that. And I think a lot of people on this call are doing it really well, but I think there's still there's a ton of opportunity in that realm.
Yeah, and I would just add, I liked something Anthony said, right? Like really be confident in your number. I think, there's a myth in sports that, you sell on wins and losses. And, at the end of the day, like it's great to have a good team, a good brand. And that's all added value, right? At the end of the day, we have the NFL Shield, this powerful brand on its own, but we all know that there's going to be a time in a day where, you're on the other side of all the wins, right? I mean, it's great to have a Josh Allen or Mahomes, but they're not here for 30 years. So you have to constantly make sure you're investing in that data, in the research, and really being confident with that number and that value that you're proposing, because we sell something it's experiential in many different ways for brands and partners, and it does have a marquee value. So just remaining confident and steadfast that what you're pitching, what you're putting out in front, there's a belief and confidence behind it is a big deal.
and I say this on my team all the time, and it's just wild. Like you would never create a sales strategy on something that you can't control. And none of us on this call create what happens on the field with trades or anything like that. And so it's you don't mind capitalizing on momentum, but at the end of the day, you can't build a process or a strategy around hoping something happens out there with a lot of 25-year-old football players. And so ultimately it comes down to adding value and listening to the client to deliver on a lot of what these guys mentioned.
I love that. And I think we're, basically right at time. This has been, but speaking of experiences, speaking of Nashville, Ambition is a Tennessee-based company. We have our annual sales peak conference coming up in October. Andy, we need to work on a special you're talking about there, but this is at Brooklyn Bowl, October 24th. You guys should totally be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. But any on the call chat, we would love you. Wonderful speakers, great additional practitioners and thought leaders and different software leaders. There's a lot of great folks coming to kind of talk about what we're talking about here, driving sales performance and maximizing our teams. So with that, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Kyle, Andy, Matt, I think this was awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We can hang for maybe a minute or two, but we are right at time. If there's any questions, throw them in chat. And if not, thanks for being here. But we'll hang for just another minute. I think that's a wrap. Guys, thanks so much. I will talk to you soon. Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you.